डालते हैं तो सब स्प्रे का जो असर है जो वो सब्जियों में हो जाता है, उससे सुंडी वगैरह तो मर ही जाती है, लेकिन उसका असर जो है सो सब्जियों में हो जाता है। जो सब्जियां हम बाज़ार में लेके जाते हैं, बाज़ार में से आगे पब्लिक खरीदती है, तो उस पब्लिक के ऊपर इस स्प्रे का बुरा असर पड़ रहा है।
When India's green revolution started, Punjab had a pioneering role. But today there is a dark reality playing out in its fields. Excessive use of pesticides is taking its toll. Its topsoil and water bodies are contaminated with chemicals. Health is another casualty.
हर चीज़ को आप जो है ना मतलब इतने केमिकल्स खाते हैं, इनसे तरह तरह की बीमारियां नेचुरली बढ़ेंगी। आपका रेजिस्टेंस है, आपका इम्यून सिस्टम है, सारा डिस्टर्ब हो जाता है, उससे और बीमारियां फैलती हैं।
As pesticide was expensive, farmers took huge loans. But soon, insects developed immunity to pesticides and merrily ate into the crops. The farmers who were well-to-do once upon a time got caught in the unending whirlpool of debt. Punjabi farmers were among the toughest in India, but in the last few years, hundreds of them committed suicide. Their pride could not accept the shame that came with a money lender knocking on their doors. Welcome to Harkishanpura in Punjab. Once upon a time, it was fertile, fetching huge returns for its cotton crop. Today, villagers are struggling with huge debts that came with chemical farming. The land and water has been devastated with poison. Every year brings in more losses. The local self-governing body in the village has announced that Harkishanpura is up for sale. Almost every family reels under debt as high as 600,000 rupees.
ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਸਾਰੇ ਪਿੰਡ ਦੀ ਪੋਜੀਸ਼ਨ ਬਹੁਤ ਠੀਕ ਸੀ, ਕੋਈ ਸਾਡੇ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਕੋਈ ਕਰਜ਼ਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ, ਵਧੀਆ ਆਪਦਾ ਚੰਗੀ ਫਸਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਸੀ, ਚੰਗਾ ਖਾਂਦੇ ਪੀਂਦੇ ਸੀ। ਉਦੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਜਦੋਂ ਨਰਮੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੁੰਡੀ ਪੈਣ ਲੱਗੀ, ਨਰਮਾ ਹੋਣੋਂ ਹਟ ਗਿਆ, ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹ 'ਤੇ ਖਰਚ ਕਰੀ ਗਏ। ਬਹੁਤ ਸਪਰੇਹਾਂ 30 35 ਸਪਰੇਹਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਨਰਮੇ 'ਤੇ ਕਰਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਕਾਫੀ ਖਰਚਾ ਸਾਡੇ ਜ਼ਿੰਮੇ ਪੈ ਜਾਂਦਾ, ਪਰ ਨਰਮਾ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ।
Instead of destroying the pesticide containers, villagers reuse them to store foodstuff. This is a family that uses it to store curd.
ਅਸੀਂ ਖੇਤ ਸਪਰੇਅ ਕਰਦੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਬਾਲਟੀ 'ਚ ਘੋਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਉਹੀ ਬਾਲਟੀ ਧੋ ਕੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਅਦ 'ਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਘਰੇ ਲਿਆਉਣੇ ਆ, ਉਸੇ 'ਚ ਪਾਣੀ ਪੀਂਦੇ ਆ, ਉਸੇ 'ਚ ਨਹਾਉਣੇ ਆ। ਜਿਹੜਾ ਡੱਬਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਉਹ ਅਸੀਂ ਘਰੇ ਲਿਆਉਣੇ ਆ, ਔਰ ਲੈਟਰਿੰਗ 'ਚ ਥੱਲੇ ਘਰੇ ਪਿਆ।
India gloated over the success of the Green Revolution that introduced pesticides and agrochemicals. But it failed to see what it did in terms of destroying the rich biodiversity. Pesticides have persistent organic pollutants within that can dangerously hang around in our ecosystem for decades. If it settles on land and water bodies, it could result in neurological disorders, weakening of the immune system, and play havoc with the endocrine system, affecting growth and reproduction. It is little wonder that in areas where pesticide use is rampant, genetic disorders and infertility clinics are thriving. One of the persistent organic pollutants is DDT. India still uses a large amount of DDT, though it is officially banned in agriculture. Studies have even shown pesticide in breast milk samples from Punjab. Scientists at the National Cancer Institute in the United States say that exposure to pesticides could cause cancer. Pesticides enhance the risks of cancer by acting as carcinogens. Studies have shown that pesticides suppress the immune system, allowing cancerous cells to escape and form a tumor.
ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬੰਦਾ ਸਪਰੇਅ ਕਰਕੇ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਰਾਤ ਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਸੌਣ ਨਹੀਂ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਜੀ, ਵੀ ਕਿਤੇ ਸੁੱਤਾ ਪਿਆ ਹੀ ਨਾ ਰਹਿ ਜੇ। ਅੱਖਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਖੁਰਕ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਜੀ। ਬਾਕੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆਹ ਚਮੜੀ ਤੇਰਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਅਸਰ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਜੀ, ਚਮੜੀ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਖੁਰਕ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਰਹਿੰਦੀ ਹੈ, ਪਿੰਡੇ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਚਮੜੀ ਰੋਗ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਜੀ। ਤੇ ਮਗਰੋਂ ਕਹਿਲੋ ਟਾਈਮ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਜੀ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਬੰਦੇ ਦੀ ਉਹਦੀ ਦਾਰੂ ਪੀਤੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ, ਨਸ਼ਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਜੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਦੇ।
The presence of adulterated pesticides in the Indian market is more dangerous. Due to weaker chemicals, pests do not die but quickly develop resistance.
Man is finding more and more use for the chemical, but the regulatory agencies have not kept pace with that. So the whole objective is defeated, making the area a free lawn for these people to play. The gross violation of human rights. This cannot happen anywhere else, but the people will revolt. This apathy, the kind of apathy from the government, regulatory agencies and the multinational companies are really mind-boggling in this country. Unless something is done quickly and effectively, situation may go out of control and this nation will soon become a sick state.
Over 600 farmers in Nasik district have switched from chemical farming to organic farming. This has come out of the realization that organic farming is the only way out to breathe life into their degraded land. Nasik has large grape farms that pump in pesticides worth 40 to 60,000 rupees per acre. A study on female grape workers in India found that exposure to pesticides led to a high rate of abortions. Abhilash Gorhe, who grows grapes, pulses and cereals in Nasik, has completely shifted to organic farming. After a bout of chemical farming, he opted to grow food that is free of poison. His farms are full of flowers and butterflies. He lets the weeds grow as it is a part of the natural ecosystem in a field. No wonder then that natural predators like black ants are actively eating the pests that attack his grape orchard. He's teaching other farmers to use leaves of various plants like the papaya, castor and custard apple to make biopesticides. When Madhav Rao Barve from Kothure village of Nasik in Maharashtra started farming 50 years ago, there were no pesticides. He used natural elements like neem and castor cakes to fight pests. Then came pesticides. Initially, the yield shot up, but it soon fell as the land got poisoned. Today, Madhav Rao is back to organic farming. His organically grown sugarcane earns him higher profits as he does not have to invest in expensive pesticides. Every year, his yield improves as the soil on his farm is getting richer. Increasingly, farmers are trying to get out of the poison spiral. Using traditional Indian knowledge, they are whipping up portions and powders using plant extracts and animal waste to produce food that is rich and pure. They are using herbal pesticides like neem. As no chemicals are used, natural enemies of pests like birds and insects are thriving. Farmers like Tokia Modu in Warangal are now actually sticking in tree branches in the midst of their fields so that birds can perch on it and train their eyes on pests for their next meal. Green farming is finally in. These green farmers are waging a silent biological war against pests and are winning. This is the silver lining in an otherwise bleak scenario. Indian scientists at the Energy and Resources Institute in New Delhi have found faster ways to degrade pesticides like endosulfan in 15 days that would otherwise have taken decades. It is also working on development of plant-based pesticides that are environment-friendly and biodegradable. Out of the country's total pesticide consumption, 55% is consumed by cotton farming alone. Andhra Pradesh, which is heavily into cotton farming, spreads pesticide worth 7 billion rupees on its fields. Nature created 27 natural predators of the American bollworm that attacks the cotton plant. But pesticide kills the predators even before the bollworm has come on the scene. There are more than 13,000 pesticide peddlers in Warangal itself. A few years ago, farmers moved from traditional crops to cotton as the profits were high. But with pests becoming immune to poison, their losses started piling up. The story of Punjab was being played once again in Warangal. Indian farmers are now caught in the pincer of debt. Hundreds committed suicide, unable to pay the piling debts that came with heavy investments in pesticide. As pesticide is easily accessible, farmers or their family members were tempted to consume it to escape from the harsh realities of poverty. This is a hospital ward in Warangal with many such victims. With the soil wilting under poisonous chemicals, farmers are now moving back to the traditional methods of trapping pests with light traps. Insects get attracted to the light at night and then fall into their watery grave below, which is a pail of water mixed with kerosene.
Agricultural production is possible without using any pesticides, and we must work towards building a world without using pesticides. A pesticide-free village is definitely possible. I think only commitment is required.
We all now know that we have the power to destroy nature. But instead, can we use nature to help us live a sustainable life? The tragedy of pesticide poisoning can get transferred to the next generation due to genetic changes, as we have seen in Kasaragod. The frightening story of how India is being poisoned may not have easy solutions. But the longer we take to find answers, the shorter will be our lives. The World Health Organization estimates that over 70,000 people end up as victims of pesticide poisoning every year. Let us not be among them.